page.
No.
Oh my God, where's the SoundCloud? We went through all that to find it. Oh, no. Yeah, I know. He makes beats, he produces. Tristan is so excited tonight. Yeah.
You got this.
Please. Let me do it this way. Welcome back to the Federal Way Black Collective's weekly live stream show, Thursday Thoughts. Information is power, and we, the Federal Way Black Collective, consider ourselves a powerful vehicle of providing factual and relevant information to the public. We keep you up to date with education, youth, city policy, and politics, as well as current and relevant events that happen daily. We are made up of Lynn, myself, political strategist extraordinaire, Lamont, community advocate and owner of Lifestyles Barber Academy, James, silent assassin, and of course, Drew, our favorite producer, is home due to COVID. We are sponsored by Rugged Genius, EvanCook.com, Pretty Grind Entertainment, Positive Vibes, located in the Commons Mall, and also at PositiveVibes1111.com. And I am super excited tonight to introduce our special guest, Mr. Deaunte, one of my favorite friends. Right on cue, right? Tristan is like helping me narrate this.
Thank you, Lynn and Tristan. And like to thank you guys for having me again. I'm just so happy just to be here. And ever since I met you, Lynn, like everything's just been taken off. Especially with learning that it's time for people in King County to get it together. We're going to talk about Seattle. We need to make sure we're talking about Federal Way first. And you guys make that happen. So I really appreciate it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that we definitely wanted to touch on today, yesterday we made a post about National Suicide Awareness Day. And a big part of the reason why we're here tonight is the fact that we want to highlight mental health and its importance, especially due to COVID-19. So the NAACP and King County Public Health has been partnering on and doing some amazing work.
Yes, we have.
How about you tell me about the work you guys have been doing up until now?
So we started actually in early July. And Terry Rogers Camp, shout out to Terry. who's our police accountability chair, she reached out to me and she said, I really want to do something for mental health. And I'm like, well, we definitely should. She's like, no, we need to partner. Because I think that a lot of people, like within our chair seats, I'm the LGBTQ chair, she works in police accountability, and a lot of people have been reaching out to us for resources. So at this point, we actually came up with a mental health day along with public health and disability right Washington. And we did that July 11th, and it was amazing. Not only did we have COVID testing, not only did we have voter registration, but we also had therapists that were actually on site to get 15-minute sessions. And we did it in the international district. And after that, me and Terry were like, we got to do it again. So the light bulb popped in. I'm like, we just can't walk in the federal way. NAACP, we're making great strides of reaching out to community partners. And I'm just so happy that we've created the partnership with Black Collective, who came in and showed up and showed out. And I can't wait for our next event.
I'm super excited because our next event is right around the corner.
Yes, I think it's the 20th.
The 19th. But
see, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about somebody's birthday. But
I'm excited. So it is going to be on the 19th. It's going to be at the Performing Arts and Event Center. It's going to be an amazing opportunity to be able to receive mental health services. If you don't have an opportunity to be there in person, you will be able to receive services on Zoom as well. But we have a lot of in-person services that'll be happening on the ground. And I'm super excited to see those things like voter registration and what else? What else we got going on? Yes, making sure people fill out their census, making sure everyone gets counted.
Right. I think that one of the things about it, and we will be social distance, but we also want to make sure that we'll have masks available as well. But it's really, I think it's just so great to have it near the Performing Arts Center, so people will see, people will come. And I think it's one of the things when it comes to our community, it's okay to talk to a therapist. What's going on and impacting our community right now, we need that shoulder. I mean, even in myself personally, I went through spaces during impacted with COVID and watching the injustices. Yes, it's more than
plural.
That have impacted us. And at the same time, I had a point where I needed to speak to a therapist. It gets real, especially if you're doing all the community you're giving out. And you don't know when to show up for you. I had a moment where I didn't even know how to show up for myself, and I thank God for my friends. I thank God for my community. I thank God for my therapist.
You want to get personal, right? Yeah. I see a therapist. Yeah. I think it's important. I think it's key. When I think I really, really, really started getting into, especially with this pandemic, like we have to give ourselves some grace. And even if it's something you never really considered an option for, maybe you're not into like what you consider to be the stigma with diagnoses and things like that. The reality is like none of your alive relatives have ever lived through a pandemic. Yeah. None of your friends have. So you really should be seeking out professional folks just to give you advice on tips, how to cope. Like we're super social. Yeah. Like, even though, it's funny, 2 years ago, they were like, we're all on Facebook, we're all not connected, right? Yeah. We didn't know how connected we were, right? Because it's hella different.
Absolutely.
So that's a big shift.
It's a big shift. And it's like, at the same time, I think one of the things for me is just like learning how to get out of my own way. Honestly, I started having circles with my friends, like having conversations with how are you? Well, you feel that way. Well, what does that look like? I think we have to do a lot more. We have to do a better job as community friends, as community partners, as friends in this space to actually, instead of just being there, show up. I really thank Terry Rogers Kemp as well, because like throughout the processes of being as a board member, you know what I mean? Like we live in this spaces where sometimes you can live in a classism space, and I just appreciate like me being transparent with her, and she actually helped me in the space of in the therapy space. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be in the spaces of guys doing it here in Federal Way. We want to actually start moving around and doing it as well as Auburn, as well as Des Moines. And it's just been really great. I think that one of the things about it is like, even with NAACP, like people would say we've been very quiet, but we've actually been doing a lot of work, and a lot of that work has been like the proper, due to COVID, proper community we're showing up and we're meeting people in the community. Engagement, honey. I don't know where listen, it's 10 o'clock. I've been on 8 Zooms today.
We had like 2 Zoom meetings together today.
It was 3.
Might be. Because, but that's what it means. Like, that's the difference. I think that before COVID, obviously there was so many people out there that dedicated their lives, but I still feel like it's different, right? Even though it was like my job before, it just spills so much more over into your personal life when everything occurs at home.
Yeah.
That it just hits different.
Yeah.
But I really do feel like that is why you need those check-ins. Like, you don't have to worry about the stigma, because the reality is that's just the beginning, right? There's so many people that just have, even if there's like nothing clinically, quote unquote, which I beg to differ. I think we need to change the way we think about it. I know someone told me once that if you were to go to your doctor and ask for a vitamin D test in like the state of Washington, they would tell you that they just automatically consider us deficient.
Oh, wow.
So in this time of COVID, I encourage you to just automatically consider yourself deficient in terms of mental health services, and just go get an evaluation, see where you're at. And, just check in. That's really, really key.
I was gonna ask you too, like, I know that, how do you feel like we're partnering in the space within the place to be in this space? I know that we've been through things, and I think it's also important to ask community members, how do you feel about working with this organization? I think that it's important to have those conversations.
I think that always, like, growing up and everything, I've always like heard about the NAACP. I grew up as like an activist. Like, I joke, when I was in like elementary school, Don Mason's daughter was my babysitter.
Okay.
So, and I always tell her, like, you owe for child labor. But but in the spaces of Seattle, especially metropolitan Seattle, that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
My mom owned a 4-plex in the Central District when I was in elementary school, as a single mom. So I'm familiar with accessing these services, and there's things that occur over time. But at the end of the day, that's an organization that I'm sure has provided services to my family.
Yeah.
And since I've been serving in leadership, in a leadership capacity in the city of Federal Way, I can't speak for past leadership, but I can speak for a current good relationship with the organization.
Yes, amazing. That's good. Like,
we certainly appreciate you guys as police accountability chair. Terry Kemp, shout out to her. She shows up, Paul G, that's my guy.
Yeah, Paul's great.
He definitely showed up in community out here in Federal Way. So I think it's also a new day, right? Like, people are seeing a different reach in the community.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure it's been like an active, like, in Federal Way, NAACP is super present, right? So just to have that access early on this year.
Like within this tenure of the space, like, reaching out to the areas of Federal Way has been a necessity. I don't think that we didn't start to realize that, but really, like, this is a community that needs us. This is a community that we can protect. And also, there's a lot for us in our spaces to learn. I think we focus so much on Seattle and the mayor of Seattle, but what about the mayors out there in Auburn and Des Moines and Kent? I mean, those are different
no, but that's legit, right? So earlier tonight, well, I won't go into the particulars of my personal life, but I did attend a YouTube video of a city council, like, I don't know what to call it.
Right?
So we have an appointment seat open.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, but what really is curious to me, like, since we're in Zoom meetings, so I can see in the Zoom meetings I run, no matter how large they are, I prefer to see the participants.
Yeah.
I prefer to see, like, who's there, the faces, like, it humanizes the process for me.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to me when I see their meetings, because I feel like there's, on a system-wide level, it's a webinar format. So they're not getting the same engagement. They're used to getting, even though it's still been limited, right? Because we've been fighting for transparency out here in Federal Way. So traditionally, it takes us showing up in rooms.
Yeah.
We can't show up in rooms, and Zoom is difficult. That pivot is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we are a much larger city as we're growing. So finding ways to make sure access is present, different little tools and tricks and tips with like Zoom and integration with like city meetings, and what are the real laws and what are just people's perception of how they want to interpret and how they want to do things.
Yeah.
I think that matters.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that one of the questions is like, what's important here in Federal Way?
Man.
Like, and then we're really good friends. I'm friends with a lot of people in Seattle that are running for office.
Right.
Yeah, I ain't talking about who I'm endorsing in this space.
No endorsements.
But it's also
not in
those spaces of like, how in Federal Way, how do you hold the people that are running for those seats accountable?
Well,
like,
I would say one
thing. It's more than you just being my friend. You done came to a couple birthday parties, or I've seen you in spaces with colleagues. But like, what is that? Can I ask that question? I know
you can. Well, I would say that the Black Collective has like an answer for that. Okay. So we are part of a coalition, Washington for Black Lives.
Okay.
And so I'm sure our like lead partners, the Washington Census Lines, and come out will be super happy to see how the NAACP feels about joining the effort. Like, we're doing policy work, we're doing get out the information work, we're doing like accountability work as far as scorecards for legislators, interviews for legislators. They're a C4 organization, so it works a little different. Well,
see, we would love to do it, but see, like in the space of like with the NAACP, like we're not allowed to endorse, but we are. But I think it's more important to we work in the area of civil rights. So I think that I
just talk in advisory capacity because the Black Collective is a 501c3. Yeah. Me as an individual, I definitely love to promote the work they're doing.
Yeah.
But I don't personally participate in their endorsement process.
Yes. Okay. I think that.
But I would recommend the same, like, join the steering committee or, whatever the titles are. But there's different levels of places you can participate in spreading the message. So we're supporting organizations that do this work. Like, we're a large group of Black-led and BIPOC-led organizations that want to work on police reform, social justice, and in our community, we just have to be honest about the fact that where we're at as a point of political privilege is not the best desired place. Like, right? We could improve.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that we're in the worst place. Don't get me wrong, especially in the 30th. Yeah. I feel blessed. I know who my future representatives are.
You're lucky.
But we have a whole state, right?
Yeah.
We have 39 counties.
Right.
And we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So I really need people to think.
Right? You know what I mean? Like,
even how we did legislature last year, like, just because you was elected last year don't mean you work in a pandemic. And I need people to really think about this. Like, just as your favorite candidate been there 10 years, like, do they understand how the internet works on an infrastructure level? Yeah. So that you can go out and figure out we're going to bid these contracts, negotiate these contracts. Like, we are looking at billions of dollars that need to come. We got budget need to cut. What's appropriate cuts, what's appropriate for public health.
Right, and what did you, I think one of my main questions is like for people that are either running or looking to be reelected, is like.
And I mean that on a city council level, not a state level, just to be clear.
Right. But
actually.
But what are you doing? What have you done what's your policy plan for COVID? No.
I was gonna say, I can lay it out, honey.
Not you. But
like, what's the Black Collective COVID-19 recovery plan?
Because there will be another pandemic, whether it be now.
There's a second wave.
You're right. So what does that look like? What is your plan for COVID? And I don't want to hear anything about you passing out masks as a solution.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people can do it, but thankful for the people.
And I honestly don't even really want to hear from like state legislators and city legislators about vaccines.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You are talking about something that somebody else is working on.
Yeah.
You don't even have the authority in the federal government to be making decisions in that realm.
Right.
So I need you to stick with your plate. Because a lot of times what tends to happen is we pass the buck. Oh, we're waiting for guidance from so-and-so.
Yeah.
But what can you do in your role? Like, I don't care if you're a clerk. And I love this example because I'm like so pro-union. Like, I've worked at hospitals. So even if you are the janitor at a hospital, you are, that's not the appropriate title at this current time for union negotiate things, right? But even if you clean hospital rooms, there's a policy and procedure for how you handle things.
Yeah.
There's a way you approach things, and there's a way you deal with the people.
Absolutely.
And we need that same level of accountability with like how people handle their job reviews and things like that. Even though you're an elected official, like we're looking for more.
Right.
This year, we holding like union quality interviews. We're not holding like friends and family.
Yeah.
We're not holding you was working for this the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Don't care. Like this is a pandemic. This
Right.
is serious business. It's always been serious business.
Right. But it's not just a pandemic. It's are you going to have that conversation with us and act like racism still isn't going on in this space?
Right.
How are you going to protect our kids?
And even so, like just to be clear, the way politics work, hierarchy down on a municipal level, if you live in King County,
Yeah.
Dow Constantine said it's a public health crisis. So move accordingly.
Yeah.
Gather yourselves.
Yeah.
He's explained what the directive is from the county.
Yeah.
To be clear, I know in my city, and I'm sure in surrounding cities, the county owns a lot of buildings. They own a lot of the city-owned buildings, municipal use buildings.
Yeah.
So they direct how you do things.
Yeah.
So take notes, follow suit. What does your plan look like?
Right.
I know that early on, I definitely commend Jim for switching his suit after having meetings with the Federally Black Collective and their board members about his stance on like how I-1000 would personally affect Federal Way. You know, he was like, oh, not a big deal. I was like, oh no, this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like how we do business is not equitable.
Right.
And in partnership with Bill Vadino, they were able to be like, you know what, you're right. Like these practices, this makes sense. There's data here.
Yeah.
And although there's not a law to enforce it, I do feel like their office has been more open since they were exposed to that data and knowledge.
Well, see, and that's a good thing to actually have those conversations, not where they dance around you, like or
Yeah,
just like,
let's just get to
one
work.
thing off. Yeah.
Pull up the sleeves. What can we do?
Yeah.
Even with our event, I think Bill says this all the time. He's like, what did the mayor say? He said,
I got a shout out
get it done.
to Bill.
Yeah.
Bill is amazing, and I met him during your last event
Mhm.
3 weeks ago, and at the end of the day, he's just like, how can I show up?
Mhm.
Oh, I got this, and that. And I mean, man, I just met you. But, you know,
Yeah.
what I mean by that was when I came to just your event, not in the spaces of what we're working on
Community work
now,
in the past
just
or
already
anything, yeah.
ready to like start doing work, and just his legacy in this community is amazing. And just being on the calls with him, he's excited. And
Yeah.
I'm excited. And the other people that we're working with too.
Progress
Oh my
Pushers.
gosh.
Shout out to Eddie and Mahogany Purpose
Yes.
and Timmy Foster.
Timmy, thank you.
Johanna is the program manager at the Federal Way Black Collective.
Yeah.
Everybody at the NAACP, everybody with King County Public Health, specifically Sarah Wilhelm,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna forget people.
Alexa,
Alexa, and she's with RIR,
I believe.
right? And
Disability Rights
check
Washington.
the website. I have dropped the
Disability Rights
link.
Washington.
Disability Rights Washington. Yes, it's
Yeah.
in there. There's so many of us, right? And it's difficult to throw people together.
Right.
20, 30 partners to make things happen. Like,
And we're also looking, we have therapists that'll be there, but
I'm
if
excited.
you are a Black therapist,
Please
you
sign up.
Sign up, and if you can't make it,
Do it via Zoom.
just do it via Zoom, or just post your business on our page.
Yeah.
So then that way we can continue to promote. I would love to, for some of our Black therapists to just post a video of just like, are you feeling this way? This is what things look like.
Yeah, get
You
people ready for this conversation so they can be ready for
Right.
different things. Because let's be cognizant of the fact that there's probably a lot of people that have never been to therapy.
Absolutely.
So this is a short session.
Yeah.
What can we provide in that time? And there's obviously other services, but let's be as prepared as we can. Feel free when you're sending those emails, because when you click on that website, there's a way to contact the scheduler,
Mhm.
and feel free to put as much as you would like, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be there for a long
Yeah.
time.
There all day.
Long time. And I mean,
How's it gone at your last events? Because this is not the first
oh my
one.
gosh, the first one was amazing. It was a lot. We also partnered with Center for Multicultural Health out there.
Okay.
They brought food boxes, so people not only were they able to get masks, do voter registration, COVID testing. They had the therapy session, and we did that at the 7-Day Adventist Church out there, which I'm really appreciative of the church saying, you know what, we already know what phase we're in, but you know, we need this. And I think there's just there's such a healing process that's happening with community that's doing it. But if I'm going to be transparent with you guys, it's also from in the space for me too. When you come into spaces of working in community, sometimes you're like, well, I can't tell people that I've been depressed or I've been sad or I was going through it during COVID. People look at me in this regard, but it feels good to just be transparent because there's a lot of healing that comes from it. And I know that having this event partnered with Terry and the rest of the board from NAACP, it's going to be a healing process for them too. So just super excited. We have so many other things going on with NAACP. Next week we have another mass giveaway in Tukwila that we're doing, and that I'm excited about. And the 28th through the 30th, I believe. I could be wrong. Sorry, Amy, but she's our political action chair. And we're actually doing we're doing a candidate forum.
Oh,
yeah. So that's gonna.
So what races are you guys gonna do?
So right now, I believe we're doing the 11th, the 37th, and we're also doing our superior judges that are running too. That people keep
for the county.
For the county, yeah. Which is a big deal because at the end of the day, you keep on leaving that out. I can't see your comments, so.
What?
No, but either way, I'm super excited. Hi, Tristan.
Yeah, Tristan's trying to.
Yeah, so we do have those events coming up. Also, I'm working with a nonprofit out here called Pokane. Pokane has Pacific Northwest Black Pride that is going to be starting in the first week of October, and we're actually going to be doing a State of Our Union for the LGBTQ community. Each letter from our lesbian brothers and sisters to our gay brothers and sisters, bi brothers and sisters, our trans brothers and sisters. I'm going to create a video with not only 2 to 3 minutes of some representative for the community speaking, but we're also going to have art. And art can look in many different ways, whether it is singing, whether it's poetry. Because as an LGBTQ chair, it's a great privilege, right? But at the same time, there is I can advocate for all of the letters in the community because that's what I do. But at the same time, we have people in this community that can speak for themselves, and I think a great representation to do a State of the Union would just be extremely important for that space.
I agree. So. Tristan is wanting to join us.
Hi.
Say hi. Then you have to go bye-bye. Thank you. I think what I'm most excited about is just the different opportunities. Like, even though we can't gather, we get that, we can do this in a safe way. We can move around and everything's scheduled. So as much as possible, please do yourself a favor and get signed up. Absolutely. So you can register in advance because it's not just in person. It is also on Zoom. You'll be able to receive mental health services. So make sure you're taking full advantage as much as possible. Get registered early. It is in the
in the comments. I think it's in the comments.
In the link to the video. Tristan's like mad excited. All this, that, and third.
All that.
This is COVID-19 in action, right? Usually things are different, but life has changed. Can't have too many people like all up in your house. So no sitter right now.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is Tristan's excited. He is growing up in exactly what Thursday Thoughts is about. It's about normalizing conversations. I want my son to see me having these conversations with community members. I mean, he does, like literally. Yeah. He's been going to city council meetings since he was 3 months old.
Yeah.
Like, that is normal. It's not something special he's doing. It's not going to make him different, but that privilege of knowledge is free. At least when we have access. So I'm going to keep fighting for that access. So everyone's children has access to that information so they can create the changes they want to see, because it's not just 45.
Right. No.
We saw that with 44, right? With Obama. He wasn't able to just like create his dream America. No. Let's be real. He said that. His wife has said that. Shout out to Michelle, getting my life. But that's just the reality, right? There's so many other elements that lead into that. Yeah. There's so many other players that allow 45 to do what he chooses to do. And that also use the same powers to block 44.
Yeah.
So as we're considering these things and as we're considering what we want, like, yeah, we can think all of that, right? But national and local is two different beasts.
Absolutely.
And the reality is right now, all that CARES Act money was distributed months ago on a federal level. But your counties and cities are still distributing.
Yeah.
Like they're still working through that process. And where are you at?
Right.
In that process? Because you didn't have a chance to talk to Trump or Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
Or Auntie Maxine.
Right. Well, Nancy Pelosi had that guard.
But I can definitely give you the number so you could talk to Mayor Farrell at his office. You know, you can have the information so you can talk to your council members in Kent, in SeaTac, in Seattle, you know?
Yeah.
That is feasible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. It's their job to listen to public comment. That type of organizing is how you get what you need in our communities. Our communities don't need the same thing across the United States.
No, because it's really different. It's different compared to like Atlanta, DC, and all
Yeah,
that.
like we have different revenue needs. We have different tax code needs.
Yeah.
Although, I'm not going to go there.
Don't do it.
But, you know, I just hope to see a lot of invigoration and public participation in our budget process this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're doing it right now in Federal Way. They're doing it, like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, this is perfect timing. I would be so sad to be in a budget year, or no, to be in 2019 experiencing COVID-19.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now we're able to go through it, pivot quickly, and make changes. We're able to say housing, we've never taken that seriously, but maybe we need to rethink. We're able to say these development companies, we've never taken it seriously, what we offer to them. Let's pivot.
Yeah.
We've been hearing the cry of organizations like Washington Can and Housing Justice Project, Northwest Justice Project, all the justice projects. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're right. It's not about everything, right? Because it is a concession, it's a conversation, it's a compromise. Mm-hmm. But we definitely need to do better.
Yeah.
Because within a matter of months, we're screwed. And other people are richer.
Right.
Right? Because Amazon was not even in the trillions before the pandemic. They're now several trillions.
Right.
And I'm living closer and closer to paycheck.
You ain't the only one.
And I'm like privileged.
Yeah.
So I really, really, really have concerns about my neighbors. I talk to them all the time. I connect them with services. Like Nancy Pelosi, I don't believe, like when people be like, oh my God, we should be so mad at these people. But like, let's be real. Like she's focused on a federal level and there's nothing wrong with that. That's literally her job description. She's not supposed to be worried about like the individual needs. She's supposed to be worried about how to distribute.
But if she did, I think,
I think her response will be different.
Yeah.
If that was her job. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that the way her focus would potentially be different.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because her focus now has to be so wide. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's just, even if it's not, like, who cares? Yeah. That's just not her job. So why are we screaming about something that's not her job? Let's worry about whose job it is. So, like, right here, right now, in the city of Federal Way, I have questions and want to have conversations, for instance, with our county representative, PBR, right?
Yeah.
You in Seattle, I'm sure you have conversations you want to have with like Gramai, right? That's where the change is.
One thing I can say about, I will say this about,
and that's not a negative connotation. I'm just saying like that's where you should go, you know, to start.
One thing I can say about Gramai since he's been in office this year, anytime that I've ever reached out to him, anytime that I've had a question, he has answered it for me. And if he didn't have it, he would call me back with one. And honest to God, and that's no offense towards Larry Gossett or anything. Larry Gossett, I mean, Gramai coming into the space standing on the back of Larry Gossett he's doing an amazing job. I love Gramai. I supported him when I first found out he was running. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, he has a really humble spirit.
As an individual.
As an individual. But as an individual myself too. But Gramai has done some amazing work in community. And I think that the best for him is yet to come. So I'm super excited.
If you're going to be my co-host, you have to sit down.
Hey, Tristan. Hi.
All right, guys. So we have 15 minutes left. What are the hot topics? There's not been a lot of questions tonight. that we want to make sure we're covering about this event, past events, and things that we're going to be doing in the future regarding mental health. This is something we wanted to discuss, obviously, in connection to World Suicide Awareness Day, as well as the fact that we have an event September 19th, located at the Performing Arts and Event Center. I guess let me do like a quick run through. There is an event posted on our page. The link to that is in the video description. And oh, you know what? I really want to cover City Council really quick.
Okay. Okay, so
because you're like an outsider.
Y'all seen I asked her in the beginning, and then she pivoted like away. But let's go back to it.
I know. I was gonna be good. Tristan, where are all these wires coming from? So this evening, we all had the privilege. I hope you were able to catch it. If not, please go back and check it out on YouTube. There was like a pre-screening of applicants. So if you've been watching.
How many applicants?
First of all, that was epic.
Okay.
So in March, Jesse stepped down to take Christine's spot. And it was like 19 applicants for his spot, right?
Okay.
This time, 26. So people are getting involved, they're getting engaged, they're getting excited, and I'm excited with them.
Yeah.
So what I'm most excited about is the fact there was 26 applicants, right? Obviously, there's only gonna be one in the end, but as I suggested last time, and I hope to see way more of, just because COVID happened literally 2 weeks later. So it was kind of a hard opportunity to interact with those folks that applied last time.
Yeah.
I hope the folks that don't make it through truly reach back and engage with community and stay connected.
Hold on. I met someone at your event the last time. Catherine?
Yes.
Shout out to Catherine.
Catherine Festa did apply.
I think I've seen it on Facebook. I could be wrong, but
she did.
Apply? Okay.
She
Shout
did.
out to Catherine.
And
I would love
she
to hear
had
everyone else.
Tristan's excited.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
his Auntie Catherine.
And shout out to Allison too.
Allison did a good interview, and I thought it was good that she did apply, especially with her other roles in the community. It's important to make sure we have people that are representing various occupations and preferences. So that was great. Also, there was somebody else. It was like, oh man, I had like my Charlie and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket winner. There was a friend runner.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do that to the people.
Okay.
But I'm definitely gonna friend her on Facebook. So if you know how to Facebook stalk me, maybe you'll figure it out. But I was really impressed.
Okay.
There was a lot of applicants. I mean, it was like a 3-hour meeting because it's like they all have their time.
Right. How long do they have?
I think 3 minutes.
That's good.
But it was good. Like everyone's supposed to talk about their background and their vision. And I really enjoyed it. No, I'm not sharing.
I think also.
Why?
Because I think that a lot of things that I do is like strictly, I don't know, I'd rather just be in the room talking to them about changing it, but I just couldn't see myself in the space of being a city council member.
I think that Tristan, he doesn't want me to run for city council.
You want to run for city council, Tristan?
No, Tristan said we have to run for state level or higher. So when we do so, we will be ready. See? Yeah, he's excited. But we'll continue to work in this community. I don't know, I struggle. There's so many different like conflicts when you're doing it at city level.
A legacy of like community. What does that feel?
But you know what? Let me tell you about true legacy and community, right? So when I first came to Federal Way in this political game, I was pregnant with this guy. My mom was running against Senator Claire Wilson.
Okay.
Have you ever heard either one of us say something negative? Not even on the campaign trail. Because it's not that deep. Like, that's the type of leadership that matters. Like, she was like, this is my qualifications, this is Tears' qualifications, and at the end of the day, this is the goal, which is better.
Yeah.
It's not about we're against each other. And they both said that.
Yeah.
and she's still very close, you know?
Yeah.
So
Wilson is amazing.
I'm pretty sure she's on here now. I'm looking at the Zoom. I should be looking at the thing.
I'm working on something that, because of you guys, I've been working on outside of my community work. Outside of the organization I'm with. I'm with Referendum 90, and I'll be doing some.
Yeah, because you were on the show with that.
Yeah, I was. And, you know, at the same time, I'm super excited because I think that community, especially communities of color, need to actually really look at what Referendum 90 looks like.
Yeah.
And also,
I think there's a lot of misconceptions.
Absolutely. Because honestly,
matter of fact, there's an event about that coming up. I'm going to Google it real quick.
Yes, actually, it's Miss Claire Wilson. I have one on the 13th as well. I'm working with support for that. So have some discussions, and really, I want to start reaching.
I think people should talk about that. Like, you know, it's the school year is getting ready to start and all that.
Right.
And well, it already started.
You know what I would challenge though, and I would love for collective. I would love for y'all to be the catalyst of this. People that are against Referendum 90, or don't believe it, or have questions about Referendum 90.
I like that. If you have questions,
so we can have some questions. So we can.
We
answer the
did
questions.
do a show though, but we are happy to do another one. Yes. I think the best place to do it would be, here we go. There is one happening September 21st. Oh, what's the date of that? I don't know. I feel like something's on my calendar, so I feel like I can't personally go. But I'm going to share this because I think it's important. I think the Black community deserves answers. I feel like we historically feel like it's not that it's right or wrong, right? But we're left out of the conversation.
Absolutely.
We're overlooked as if our data speaks for us.
Absolutely.
Because if you look at it like, I made a comment to someone. I said, when you look at like levy dollars and nonprofit dollars, the most tracked community is the Black community.
Absolutely.
It's like we're a commodity, like federal dollars. And it's weird because it's a silo too. Like it's not even the biggest amounts of money, right? It's not like we're really getting access to like military funding, which is like the deep pockets.
Right.
But it's primarily school to prison pipeline funding. Right. And there's this tremendous accountability for data. And then you see on the other side from federal funding where it's like military spending, they're like, we don't know what happened. Stop asking us. And they're like, okay, here's $3 trillion more. Don't lose this one, maybe, right? But our reporting standards are insane as nonprofits.
And I just think that like it's more with our families, we just need to have more conversation about boundaries, especially when it comes to our youth.
Right.
And that is the most important conversation.
I don't even have a friend that I know that doesn't have, even if it's not them personally, right? Someone in their family that wasn't molested or raped.
Absolutely.
And that's a conversation, right? With the whole family. Right. If your whole family has to have those conversations.
In some our families, I know in some cases when people try to have those conversations,
then you're probably toxic.
Because it may have happened in church or it may have happened in
right. And so it was probably a toxic conversation.
Absolutely.
Was it a healthy conversation? Just as it was discussed, you're right? Just as it was discussed.
Yeah. Was
it a healthy conversation?
Right. And most of the time it's not. You know, and I think
because half the time, even in that moment, if it's you, right, you don't even know how to really respond.
Yeah.
You don't even know how to advocate yourself, right? Because you need other tools.
Right.
And that's exactly why we're doing things like this event and why R90 is important to pass.
Right.
Because it's about information.
It's an upgrade version of sexual education. Most of people's children have phones at the age of 9. And there are young...
But it's not just sex.
Right.
Like, it's not just, people have this weird version, it's just sex.
No. It's about protecting your children and having them acknowledge exactly what it looks like to advocate for themselves in the spaces when people can take their innocence.
Yeah.
And that's just real. And people might not like the way that sounds, but it's real.
It's true. Even when you look at because like the biggest thing I see is like conversations about like, oh, they're talking about like sex with kids in elementary school. I'm like, no, they're not. They're talking about appropriate touching.
Right.
And if you have a problem with your kid knowing that, I have concerns.
Right.
Because then I'm concerned. If my 2-year-old,
well
I want his friends, family to know. I want him to know how to deal with anybody.
Right.
Because nobody is like immune.
Right. Absolutely.
We should not be teaching our kids that people like get quote unquote passes. Nobody gets a pass. This is acceptable behavior and this is not.
You okay? I agree. I agree. It's one of those things of just like one of the things, not only protecting our youth, but out of all of the youth, I think we need to be protecting our Black girls, our young Black girls in this community. We don't have enough conversation in that space about what that looks like. So, you know,
there's a whole lot of protecting that I think needs to go on.
absolutely.
You know, I think it's on a lot of sides. I feel like a lot of it also is our community has never really had a chance to not be reactive.
Right. Well, the other space too, what I've heard from people for referendum, and I have to agree in this space is like, what the question has been, what is being taken away? Like in between that, because in some cases, back in the day, I heard from a teacher like ethnic studies was one of the spaces that got, or the Black History Month lesson got taken away or whatever because of this space, you know.
But see, the interesting thing is, I mean, this is not like a huge highlight on the program, but I think you should check the county in which your child attends school, because the reality is that this is only a new thing to some counties. In some counties, this has been done for years.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say like this particular model, but there's been some form of general sexual education.
Right.
So if you were just like overwhelmingly opposed to this, you're very late to the party.
Right.
Especially if you're in like King County.
This bill, I believe, is approved statewide.
It is a statewide bill. And so I feel like what's interesting to me is I see so many people within King County.
Right.
And so I'm like, what is gonna, even if you were to vote it down, nothing would change for your children. So I wanted you to understand what the process and procedure is for what you're asking. Because even if you don't agree with this, I guess, yes, you should protest this, right? But ultimately, your child's been going to school, experiencing this for years, and there's nothing wrong with that, apparently, because you've never brought a complaint to the school board.
Right.
Unless you have, and then, you know, live your truth.
Honestly,
but if you haven't, let's be clear, don't complain about something you've been okay with. Maybe you just didn't know.
Right.
And that would be weird to me as well.
If I would have had actual proper sexual education in the space, or sexual education in the spaces of me being in high school.
I'm not saying it was proper, but it was there.
No, but just I don't think I had it in the way of letting you know about race, demographics,
right?
This.
And I don't even think inappropriate touching.
Right, inappropriate.
Like honestly, I feel like oh man, we're talking about the Me Too generation. Like if you're talking about you understand Me Too, how do you not understand inappropriate touching needing to be taught early? Absolutely. And not even just for women or girls, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. Boys are like, oh my goodness, what does this mean now?
Right.
How do we raise them to know?
Right.
To know how to set themselves up for success.
We're also
like
that had Mary Kay Letourneau. So.
Let's be clear, right? We have it all. It shows up all the time. I see it all the time across our country. Like, how are we even against anything that prevents something like that?
Yeah.
I see it as an adult. I feel like as a kid, I didn't see it as often. So I don't know if the times have shifted, priorities have shifted, but I feel like more teachers, not a tremendous amount, don't get me wrong, but it's still like more than like 2 stories a year. And that could be because of the internet and a variety of other things.
Absolutely.
But once is too much, just like with police officers.
Right. Absolutely.
Being very, very clear.
Absolutely.
Because you're doing something that changes the young person's life, right? This isn't something that you could just take back. So once is enough.
Right.
And we need to make sure our kids know how to deal with things like that, how to approach us. Yeah. And if they're not comfortable approaching us as parents, how to approach community leaders, how to engage, teach, you know what I mean? Like other teachers, whatever it may be. What are the steps? If they don't know the steps, like think about it now. This is like telling kids, we're sending you into adult environments. Like, let's just be clear, with no training. You go, you sit with these adults, you hope for the best, you hope you learn how to live life. Yeah. And this training is not on the table. That's just like going into a corporate job in America today, in the United States rather, today, and saying like, oh, we don't offer sexual harassment training. It doesn't happen. So why are we waiting till they get to work? Because it's a requirement, right? They're going to have to take this webinar. So why do we let them get it, excuse my French, but fucked up? Why do you just let them get it confused? This is appropriate. This is not. Start at 5. Start at 2.
Yeah.
Early. And then everybody's happy. Everybody's safe.
Yeah.
Like, I want my son to grow up in a world where he doesn't even hear the N word, right? I want him to grow up in a world where he doesn't even know what a rapist is. And that may be just little 2 unicorns and fairies and rainbows, right? But like close to it is at least the goal. Come on, right? Oh, I know you're hot. Okay. So it is 9:59. Tristan is done with me.
So next Saturday.
Yes. September 19th. 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Love me. Love me. Okay, drink it off. 2 p.m. Performing Arts and Event Center.
Yes.
Come check us out. We'll have voter registration. We will have COVID-19 testing. We will have mental health therapists. Even if you can't appear in person, you can schedule to go on Zoom. What else do we have?
Keep in mind the week after that, we do have mass giveaway out there in Tukwila with our beautiful chair, Mr. Conway. Then a couple of days after that, we will have our candidate forum with Amy Stoddard, who is our political action chair. Then the week after that, we will be having Pacific Northwest Gay Pride, State of Our Union. And I'm super excited about that. And keep in mind, King County, NAACP King County elections are coming up as well. So if you are not a member and have not renewed, please renew. We know what we've been through before, but we want to make sure that you're in the space to be visible for us, to let us know what you expect. And we appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Make sure to tune in next week for Thursday Thoughts. Make sure to check out, I'll say by next Friday, our website launch will be happening. We'll have an all new everything.
Yes.
And we're super excited to share.
There's somebody in Federal I ain't met yet.
Who?
Jamila Taylor. I don't know where you're at, but I have just heard your name is just ringing bells all through this city from Seattle to Federal Way. So I just have to meet you. Shout out to you. I know you'll be on our candidate forum, but I haven't met you yet, but I just can't wait to see what you have in store.
Hashtag squad. I will help you. Look, this is like make a wish. Look, the Federal Way Black Collective, make a wish come true. We gonna connect you with Jamila and get a social distancing Zoom set up.
Okay, I would love that.
That'd be amazing.
Yes.
I'm super excited, you guys. As always, have a blessed night. Keep checking up for updates. There's so much that went live tonight. Oh, today's the 10th. If you have not and you qualify for pandemic EBT benefits, please fill it out. Tomorrow, 5 p.m., the application is closed. Information is on our Facebook page.
And also tomorrow is the 19th anniversary of 9/11. So if you have, shout out to the families who have lost someone in that space. I remember where I was in that space.
I was in school.
Because that was in my space. That's when I started really realizing, like, I had to start. That's when I finally started watching the news. So at the end of the day, let's just start acknowledging the lives that we lost in that space. Yeah. I'm sorry, that was just random.
No, it was heavy, so I had to like take a personal moment of silence.
Really, that was a lot.
I appreciate you for bringing that up.
Thank you very much. That's what I do. Seattle Collective, not Black Collective, Federal Way, but Seattle Collective. No,
okay.
I'm working on it. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, you guys have a good night.
Have a blessed night.
We will see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Bye, Tristan.